So as you start to rest on the mat, on the surface beneath you, if it feels comfortable and safe for you to close your eyes, go ahead, start to rest your eyes and see if you can direct your energy, your awareness internal into the body. So maybe you start to notice the sensations that you feel in your feet, your ankles, your shins, your knees, your thighs. Just notice what you feel here. The sensual texture. Does it feel stiff? Does it feel relaxed? Maybe there's not even a label to really describe the sensual textures, the sensations that you're feeling in your body. Have you ever brought attention directly to your hips? Do you notice if one hip is higher than the other? It protrudes more? What about your belly? Does it feel pretty loose or does it feel solid? Does it feel like you're trying to hold your stomach together, sucking it in, or can you relax it and let it go? What about your shoulders? Do you notice them being lifted off the mat? Are they high up towards your ear? Maybe you feel a sense of heaviness or pressure, or maybe they feel light. It's just an observation as to what's going on inside the body and the language that your body is trying to explain or express itself. What about your throat? Does it feel dense? Does it feel like a lump in your throat? Or does it feel clean? What about your jaw? Is your jaw relaxed? Or do you might find that your teeth are stacked on top of one another and your jaw is clenched? How about your eyebrows, your eyelids, your forehead? And overall, the scalp, the top of your head. Have you ever brought an awareness to the top of your head? Your head in space? Have you reflected today? How are you feeling emotionally? What's your state of being today, energetically? Is it high? Is it low? Is it stagnant? Is it numb? As we start to bring awareness, without changing, bring awareness to your breath. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it deep? Is it shallow? These are all little ways that we can communicate with our body, hear what it has to say, and tell us what state that we're in. We're going to take 3 deep cleansing breaths together. So we're going to take a breath in from the nose, a hold at the top, and an exhale out the mouth. So whenever you're ready, go ahead, take a deep breath in from the nose. Hold it. And side out. Take another deep breath in. Hold it. And maybe this time you do an audible exhale out and release. Go ahead, take another deep breath in. Feel the lungs, the belly rise and expand. Hold it. And let it go. Listen to your body if your body is craving another breath, giving it the nutrients that it's asking for. Maybe you just notice the changes in your body, your state of mind, just by taking those 3 deep breaths and grounding yourself. If it feels comfortable, you can place one of your hands on top of your belly, and we're just going to incorporate a belly breath. It's super simple, but it's something that pulls us out of the stress response, the flight or fight, and activates and brings us into a state of relaxation, of rest and digest. So all you have to do is feel the belly rise up into your hand on your inhales. And on your exhales, your belly will deflate back, letting it relax. You don't have to force it. Your body knows exactly what it needs to do. And I want you to practice these intentional breaths as we start to set intentions for this class. So I'll let you know when you can release your hand. I'll let you know when you don't have to think about breathing. But I did this simple breath because today I want to talk about suffering and what it truly means to suffer. Because I think that we have this negative connotation as to what suffering really is. And meanwhile, yes, it can be painful. Yes, it is typically painful. But it's also very beautiful. What if we as a society is able to kind of step back from these judgments of labels and coined suffering as just a time of challenge? Because if we didn't have suffering, we wouldn't have growth. If we didn't have pain, then we wouldn't know what healing feels like. If we didn't have pain or suffering, we wouldn't have the opportunity to trust or to rely on our faith. But just like the rain, it's needed. And just like the winter, it's still beautiful. May you remember that there's no such thing as coincidences, and God would never give you anything that you can't handle. Because if you couldn't handle it, you wouldn't be here right now, would you? There's two types of suffering. There's constructed and there's caused. Constructed is the intentional, the purposeful suffering. That means that it's time to let go and move into a new space. It's kind of like if you've ever moved from one house to another. It's bittersweet. But then there's the caused. And this is when we essentially create it ourselves. And what this could be is, say, you're eating something that you know does not go good for your digestion, or hanging out with somebody that you know always drains you and brings you down. It's a choice. But regardless, either one is still showing you a lesson. So for this flow, I want you to maybe analyze and go back, see if you can connect the dots and notice how some of the experiences that you've once been through needed to happen in order for you to be here, to be this version of yourself. How one thing led to another. It's part of your journey. Maybe you start to witness the suffering as lessons, and it's brought you to this growth. Go ahead, take a deep breath in from the nose and exhale out. An example that I like to use is my parents' divorce. I was really struggling with that. But if it wasn't for that divorce, then I wouldn't have two step parents and step siblings, that I have a beautiful, larger family than I could have ever asked for. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and it's not about us relying on our own understandings, but trusting that it's happening for you. Lean into that faith. Go ahead, take one more deep breath in and exhale out. Slowly, you can start to wiggle your fingers, your knees, toes. Maybe you take a deep stretch. And we're going to remain staying on the floor. We're going to start to work into the knees. So go ahead, bring your knees in towards your chest. You can hold your knees. You can rock from side to side for a moment. Just feel the lower back on the mat, massaging the organs. And then you can go ahead and neutralize your body. You can place your left foot back onto the mat. The knee will be bent. The right knee, your hands are going to come behind the right knee. You can kind of have your knee in alignment with your hip. You don't necessarily have to draw it in, because we're not going to be doing an active stretch. We're just going to do some nerve floss for the knee. So we're going to point the toes and then point the foot towards the ceiling. So essentially you're pressing the back of your knee into your hands, activating the quads. You're going to flex the toes, so the toes are pointing towards your face, and then slowly start to press through that heel to bring your knee back down at a 90-degree angle, kind of like you're trying to squeeze your hands. You don't have to go down all the way. Again, It's understanding your body. Go ahead, point the toes and lift that right leg back up. Flex the toes back towards your feet and gently press through the back of the heel all the way down. See if you can bring intention with your movement. Point the toes and lift the leg back up. So here we start to explore our bodies a little bit more. You can continue at your own pace. We're going to do about 3 to 5 more of these. But see if you can start to feel the openness in the hamstring and the knee, and we're not forcing it. Remember that sometimes when we force things, that's only going to cause and create our choice to suffer. But it doesn't have to be this way. See if you can find the fluidity within your movement. Go ahead, take one more wherever you're at. And then from here, we're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee. Press that right knee away from you. So now we're coming into a figure 4. And we're going to get a little bit deeper into the hips. So if this feels comfortable for you, you can go ahead, lift your left leg off the mat, and you can interlace your hands around that left leg. However, what I do ask and request is that you feel the benefit of the stretch with effort and ease. Your lower back is relaxed. Your shoulders are relaxed. Your head is relaxed. See if you can bring and invite your breath into this. And notice that if this feels like a challenge, you'll start to reap the rewards shortly. Slowly, you can start to release that left leg back down. Uncross your legs. Both feet are planted on the mat. If you want to rock your knees from side to side, just then activate any movement, readjust the spine. Notice how your hips feel. Do you notice a difference from the left to the right? From your right knee to your left? And just fully bring awareness to your left knee to just notice the sensation so that you can truly feel the subtle changes that will be brought just to doing some simple movements. You can go ahead and neutralize your knees. The left knee will come in so your hands can interlace behind the left knee. And we're going to implement those knee flosses. So go ahead, point your toe, and then straighten your leg up towards the ceiling. Flex the toes towards the feet and press through that heel as if you're trying to squeeze the back of your hands. Can you feel the connection from your ankle to your calf, to your knee, to your hamstring? Maybe even the glute, maybe even the core. Maybe you even feel the surplus of blood rushing back to the feet. We're gonna go ahead, take 3 more. And you might not know why we are doing these nerve flosses, but in a little bit, you'll start to understand why. So this is a beautiful way to start practicing patience when we are experiencing challenges or suffering. It's patience in knowing that eventually it will reveal itself. You can go ahead, start to place your left ankle on top of that right knee and gently press that left knee away from you. Allow your hips to invite you in. And if this feels comfortable, you can go ahead, lift the right foot off the mat. Interlace your hands behind the right leg. And bring ease and softness into the body. Surrender any sensations or tensions that you feel. And to do that, utilize your breath. See if you can use your breath as a tool to find where it feels locked on your inhales and your exhales unlock. Gonna go ahead, take 2 more deep breaths. Slowly you can release the grip. Bring your right leg back down, uncross your legs. And you can rock your knees from side to side. You can start to bring your knees back up towards center. And then from here, we're going to roll up to come into a cross-legged seated position. You're going to warm up the spine a little bit. So our hands are going to come up overhead. Interlace the hands behind the head. See if you can relax the knees down. If you need to utilize the pillow for support, you can always sit on a pillow or stack them. We're going to take a deep breath in. Feel the belly button come in towards the spine. And on your exhales, the belly button stays towards the spine as you start to bring your elbows towards your shins. Inhale, lifting your way up. And exhale down. Inhale up. We're going to take about 5 more of these, but just notice if utilizing your belly button to come up and in towards the back body just kind of slightly activates the pelvic floor muscles so that it helps protect your lower back. Maybe you find that it might be a little bit easier to move through this and it makes it more fluid within the spine. And it's just a gentle tuck. It doesn't have to be anything tense. We're not contracting our core, but just loosely. Then you'll feel a stretch on the back of the body. Go ahead, take 1 more. And slowly rising back up, you can release your hands back down. Maybe you even feel the blood flow coming back to your hands. We're going to come into a tabletop position. So coming onto our hands and knees. You can always put a pillow underneath your knees or underneath your wrists if that feels comfortable for you. Just want you to realign your posture so that your knees are in line with your hips, your ankles are in line with your knees, and your hands are stacked underneath your shoulders. We're going to get into the shoulders a little bit. So we're going to inhale the left hand up in front of us and see if you can start to make really big circles, wrapping that left hand around. See if you can move through the shoulder blade first. So the shoulder blade is the first part that moves, and then it ripples into your hands. You might even notice that pressing into your right hand helps activate the thoracic spine, so the upper back essentially, to help the rotation so you're not really relying on the joint. And we're going to go the opposite way. So instead of going forward, the hand is going to come behind, up, and forward. That's okay. The cool thing is we're going to be doing it on both sides. Go ahead, you can place that left hand back down. Hey, I like that you can laugh about it though. It brings humor, and I think we get to bring more humor into any mistakes that we make, big or small. You know, we're just humans. So thank you for that lesson. So we're going to do the same thing on the right hand. So go ahead, press into the left. Inhale the right hand up, and then bringing it back down. What I like to say is see if you can pretend like you're swimming or moving through honey, where the space around you is intentional. It's not just empty vastness. And then go the opposite way. So bringing your hand back. You'll notice the conjunction of the back muscles supporting the movement, supporting the shoulder joint. We're going to go ahead, take 2 more. Notice your breath. Then you can bring that right hand back down. Notice the blood flow coming back. Notice any sensations that you feel. We're going to stretch the chest and the upper body. So go ahead, start to walk your hands out in front of you. And then eventually your chin, your chest, your forehead might come down towards the mat, coming into a puppy pose. Your elbows can be on the mat. They can be lifted off the mat. If this bothers the lower back, you can bring that belly button up towards the spine, towards the heart space. And you'll notice that it protects the lower back, bringing in a sense of ease. We're going to be here for about 3 to 4 breaths. So see if you can fully breathe into the back, breathe into the belly, and allow your body to surrender. Surrender that even when you let go, you trust that your body is here and the floor is beneath you. Take 1 more deep breath in. And exhale. So you can start to press back into your hands, coming back into that tabletop position. We're going to start to do a little bit more mobilities towards the hips. So the right hand is going to come on the outside of the The right foot is going to come on the outside of the right hand. You can, again, place the pillow underneath your left knee if that feels comfortable. Just want to make sure that you are on the sole of the right foot. So I don't want you to be up on your tippy toes. See if you can keep it flat. And then notice if your hips allow you to sink in. So if you want to extend that left leg back, you can a little bit. And if you're kind of squared at a 90-degree angle, that's also okay as well. We're coming into a lizard pose. So if this feels great for you, you can stay here. If you want a little bit of a deeper stretch, you can press your right knee away from you to come onto the outside of that right foot. So the sole of the right foot is perpendicular to the mat. Nope, perpendicular, so the sole of the foot is facing, yeah, towards the wall. You can gently invite some movement, rocking side to side here. Again, being mindful of your body and asking if it wants to be moved. You can explore it, but you don't have to follow through with it. Notice your breath. Notice how your breath is a tool, it's an anchor. It connects these new neurons, the neuromuscular connection of inviting the space, this newness. And again, even though your body might feel like it's suffering in the moment, you know that in a time, in a moment, it's going to feel so much better, so much more open. So you can come back onto the sole of that right foot. And we're going to slowly start to walk the hands back as we start to straighten that right leg. Your toes can be pointed down, your toes can be pointed up. You can have a micro bend. My knee doesn't even straighten all the way either. You can sit down onto your left leg, whatever feels comfortable for you. So this is why we did some of the knee flossing, nerve flossing, just to open up that nerve so that we have a better stretch in the hamstring. You're going to be here for about 3 to 4 deep breaths. Notice if it helps to know how long we're going to be here, or do you like the spontaneity of not knowing? And then slowly you can start to press back into your hands, coming up forward. And you can release that right leg back. Make any movements that your right leg is in need of. If it wants to extend back, if it wants to do some hip circles, whatever feels best for your legs. And then to balance out both sides, we're going to place the left foot on the outside of the left hand. Again, adjust your body in whichever way it needs to feel comfortable. You can utilize the pillow for support under either knee or foot. And then allow your body to invite you to go in deeper. If it does, then you can start to press that left knee out away from you. And if you want to sway from side to side, you can gently invite a little bit of movement. But if you do, see if you can be intentional with swaying your hips from side to side versus just aimlessly. If this bothers the wrist, you can go ahead, place the pillow underneath your wrists as well, underneath your hands. Does this side feel more fluid and more open, or does this side feel a little bit more resistance? Here we start to acknowledge the imbalances in our body so that we can rebalance it. So maybe If this is tighter, you stay here longer, or maybe if the other side is tighter, you come back to this pose on the other side more. Take one more deep breath in and exhale. So you can come back to the sole of that left foot. Start to gently walk your hands back so you can straighten that left leg. If you want a calf stretch, your toes will come up. If you don't, your toes can be pointed down. You can come to rest on the back of your right leg. Another thing that I realized with suffering is that sometimes we think that that's all that life is, or that we deserve it, or that we're so used to suffering that we don't know anything other than suffering. So we keep these patterns going down these loops. But have you ever asked what's on the other side? What if? Take one more deep breath in and exhale. Slowly, you can start to press back into your hands, coming up forward. You can release that left leg back. Make any movement that feels good for you. And to show you how strong you guys are, we're going to do another hip opener pose. So the left knee is going to come towards the center of the mat. The right knee is going to come behind the left knee. So now our legs are crossed. It's like we're curtsying. The feet are going to open up wide. And notice the space in between your feet. Here, we're slowly going to guide the hips down in between the space of the feet. If this is too much for you, you can always lift that left knee up towards the ceiling. Or you can do what Cindy's doing and just lean over your hands, whatever your body is requesting. And maybe you ask your body, what does it need? This used to be one of my least favorite poses, but it's cool to see the journey that now it's one of my favorite. And it's a squeeze and soak effect. So what we're doing is we're blocking and constricting any sense of blood flow going to the hips. And then when we release out of it, you will feel a rush of blood coming back to the hips. So go ahead, take one more deep breath in and exhale out. So you can start to walk your hands forward, lift the knees off, release the cross, and allow the blood to stream back towards the hips, making any movement that feels good for your body. And again, notice how maybe it was a really challenging pose for you and what you got out of it after. This time the right knee comes towards the center. The left knee stacks behind. The feet open up nice and wide. If you want to rock forward and back, you can. And allow your hips to invite you to come deeper into that pose where you start to send your hips in between the space. And you can start to rise on up. Being gentle with your body, honoring wherever it's at. Maybe you invite gratitude for your body being able to move the way that it does. Maybe you close your eyes and maybe you go internal. I think our bodies are so special and so detailed oriented that sometimes we focus so much on the external versus what's truly going on inside. and how divinely orchestrated all of this is. Take one more deep breath in and exhale out. To come out of this pose, we're actually going to place our hands behind us. We're going to lift the knees up close towards the chest, and then you can uncross the legs so that they come out in front of you. You can shake out the knees. You can rock from side to side, whatever feels good for you. We're going to get more into the hip flexor, hamstring, excuse me. So we're going to lift our hands up overhead. The navel tucks in and up so that we're making sure that we're hinging from the hips and not the lower back. So we're going to start to press the heart space forward, kind of like we're trying to reach our head towards the top corner of the wall. And then once you feel that stretch, once you start to notice a cave in the lower back, your hands will come down to meet your shins, your ankles, your feet, your knees, wherever you're at. And then from here, that's when you can gently relax the upper body and relax the head down. Find your breath. Take 2 more deep breaths in. And then slowly you can release the grip of your hands and slowly start to stack the vertebrae up one by one, rolling the shoulders down and back. You can gently come back into a cross-legged seated position. Just going to open up the shoulders just a little bit more. So we're going to extend our right hand out towards the side, opposite of me. The right hand is going to come behind the back so the palm faces away from you. Roll that shoulder down and back. And then with your left hand, it's going to come up over towards the right ear. And gently, just the weight of your hand, we're not pressing our head, but just the weight of our hand over our head creates more elongation on the side of the right neck, on the shoulder, the chest. See if you can invite your breath into your upper chest here. And then slowly you can start to release that left hand. Slowly with control, you can release the right hand back down onto your knee. Make any movements. Just take a moment, pause, just to witness the openness that you feel from the right side of the neck versus the left. And even just holding that just for 3 breaths allows our body to feel invited to take up its space. Our left hand is going to come out towards the side. We're going to bring the left hand behind the back, rolling the shoulder down and back. And then the right hand will gently come up and over, reaching for the left. And gently just guiding the right ear towards the right shoulder to open up the left side of the neck. See if you can notice the boundary of your breath. Where does your breath get stuck? And see that with each inhale, you're able to extend slightly beyond the boundary. So you can release that right hand back down, release the left, bringing movement back into the shoulders. We're going to come onto our backs. We're just going to do some pelvic tilts. So the knees are going to be bent. And we're just going to rock our pelvis forward and back. So we're not coming into a full bridge pose, but it's kind of like we're arching the back and then pressing the lower back into the mat. So the hips remain on the mat, it's just rocking it forward and back, moving the blood flow. And if your body wants to do any other stretch, then it can go ahead. Do anything before it would like to come into our final resting pose, Shavasana. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead, extend your legs out all the way in front of you. Your hands can come by your side, can be on your belly, can be up overhead. Whatever feels comfortable for you. And see if you can preserve the learnings, the space within your body, and truly ask yourself what suffering truly means to you, and where in your life do you feel like you're suffering that might be more created, and seeing if you can let that go. The suffering is caused by the resistance, the control. But just like your breath that's easily and effortlessly coming in and out, it's easy to let go of that breath. So see if you can use your breath as a metaphor, as a tool to remind you that change is inevitable and suffering is just a label. It's just a word that has a lot of energy or emotion attached to it. So see if you can release that energy and emotion attached to it. Maybe redefining it as a challenge for growth or motivation to reconnect with God or to build character. Take a deep breath in and let it go. Slowly, you can start to take a deep breath in from the nose and exhale out. Notice the sensations that you feel, sense of peace, sense of weightlessness in your body. Anchor it in with another deep breath. Whenever you're ready, you can start to make some movement back into the body. Being gentle with yourself. And as slowly, as caringly as your body will allow, you can gently make your way up to come into a cross-legged seated position. Take a moment to just notice the before and after of your body, your state of mind, of how you came into this class versus how you're exiting. What is it that you learn that you can take away with you? Your hands can come to prayer pose in front of your heart. Taking a moment to honor your journey, what you've been through, where you are, and where you're going. May you remember that it's all for you. And it's all happening for a reason. Take a deep breath in. And exhale out. Most importantly, may you stand in your light and cherish it. Malema Pono. Thank you for practicing with me today.